Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the St. Vincent College Psychology Information Session. My name is Melissa Sobek. I'm the Associate Director of the Admission Office. And very shortly, you'll be hearing from some of our faculty from the Psychology Department to learn more about what the program has to offer you and to hopefully help you make your decision to become a future Bearcat. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the Chair of the Psychology Department, Dr. Chris Oldenburg.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be here. For those of you who are seniors, I know this isn't the way that you wanted to end your senior year. I have a daughter who's a high school senior, and I feel terrible for all of you, but especially the seniors. That said, there's a lot of great things to look forward to, and I'm going to talk about our psychology program and where it can take you in life. Just by way of introduction, my name is Dr. Oldenburg. I'm chair of the department. Also present here on this call is Dr. Christine Slank, Dr. Mark Rivardo, and Dr. Devin Fava, other faculty in the department. In addition, Mary Pop is a psychology major, a junior, who is also available to answer any questions that you have, and Ms. Nicole Wrights, who is a recent graduate a couple years ago and is currently in graduate school. Our psychology major is largely designed to prepare you for one of two things after you graduate, going on to graduate school or direct entry into the workforce. With regards to graduate school, we'll start with that. Our students have tremendous success getting into grad school. Pretty much everyone who applies to master's programs gets accepted. Some of the more common master's programs for our majors include master's in counseling programs, which can include mental health counseling, school counseling, marriage and family. Those are all options. We also send a reasonable number of our students to MSW programs, which is a master's in social work, which is a very good master's degree to get. Some other types of master's programs, there's a wide range of them: speech pathology, applied behavioral analysis, business sometimes. So a wide variety of master's programs that our students are very competitive for. At the doctoral level, we also have good success with getting our students into doctoral programs, PhD programs such as school psychology, health psychology, neuroscience. We have sent students to those types of programs, as well as other experimental programs like social psychology, cognitive psychology, and so forth. We've also had good success studying our students to clinical psychology programs, especially PsyD programs. The PsyD is a doctor in psychology. We've also had students go on to law school and medical school. So by the time you graduate in 4 years, you'll be in a position where you're able to make some of those decisions and decide what kind of program would be most fitting for you. Some of our students go straight into the workforce, working in settings such as different mental health agencies, group homes, schools, drug and alcohol clinics, research labs, human resources. Really a wide variety of settings that our graduates work in. Some of those graduates who go straight into the workforce decide later on to go on to graduate school. That's certainly not unusual. Others do stay in the workforce and work with a bachelor's degree during their career. So while what our students do after they leave here, I think, is a great indicator of the flexibility of the psychology major in general. Interests change sometimes. You come in with an idea of what you want to do as a freshman, and sometimes those ideas change. And if your interests and your goals change a little bit, it's very likely that you can still stay a psychology major and eventually get to where you want to go. And so that's certainly one of the advantages of the psychology major at St. Vincent. So why are our students so successful in such a wide variety of areas? And part of that is what we make available to our students in the psychology program. This slide here shows some of the more popular academic programs that we have available. we have purposefully kept the number of credit hours required for the psychology major at a manageable number. And what this does is this allows you to pursue double majors, minors, other special programs. What we have listed here are some of the more specialized programs that are popular with our majors. So in addition to the psychology major, we have a concentration in mental health that is available only to our psychology majors. We have the addiction specialist training certificate. If you work in mental health, you're going to deal with addictions. And so this has been a very popular program over the years. We have minor in biological psychology, a minor in children's studies. So in addition to your strong, broad-based education in psychology that you get with those core psychology classes that make up the major, you also have a chance to pursue your more specific interests. For some of our students, they use that flexibility in their requirements to double major. Double major with criminology is popular. We also have students who are double majoring with biology, theology, business. Mary here on this call is a double major with politics. And so you can do that. You can double major, you can add other specialized programs and still graduate in 4 years. So, so again, those academic programs are part of what contributes to the success that our students have. We also require our students to complete an undergraduate internship. This is another chance to develop the skills, gain the experience to help you be a strong candidate for graduate school or for employment. And the types of internship really, it's a very wide range. Summer camps are popular, especially with kids, special needs kids, for instance. Internships at hospitals, Allegheny General Hospital is one site we've sent a few students to. Homeless shelters, other agencies such as the Children's Institute. Some of our students do more research-driven internships. We sent one student this past summer to the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine to work in their research lab. Really just a huge variety of experiences. And we're also very flexible with what we accept for internship experiences. We want this to be an opportunity for you, not a burden. And so because we understand that you all have diverse interests and that psychology is a diverse field, we're very flexible with the types of internships that we accept. One student this year completed an internship as a volleyball coach for a travel team. So again, depending on your particular interests and what you feel you need to help gain those skills that will help you later on in life, that's what our internship program is all about. We also attend each year the Eastern Psychological Association Conference. This rotates between Boston, Philadelphia, and New York, and students present their independent research projects at these conferences and always do a fantastic job. We're so impressed and so proud of our students with all that they're able to do and how well their research that they do here holds up compared to the research of students at other places. Students also apply for and get internal grants to fund those trips. So typically speaking, all the travel costs, including transportation, hotel, the costs having to do with the conference itself, dinners are all paid for, and usually the student typically is just paying for breakfast, lunch, souvenirs, that sort of thing. All the trips are great. My personal favorite is the New York City trip. We take the train here straight from Latrobe. It takes us right to Penn Station, which is under Madison Square Garden. We walk from there to our hotel, which is right on Broadway on Times Square. It's a fantastic trip, a fantastic experience, and students, like I said, do a great job with their research when they present it. The internships, the conference presentations, I mean, really everything that you do here is helping you learn what it means to be a professional. And really that's part of the reason why our students are so successful. They interact well, they're kind, they treat each other well. They're really great to be around. And it's a great atmosphere for learning. It's a great atmosphere to be a psychology major. And so, we have a lot to offer as a college and as a department. St. Vincent College is a great place to be, and it's a great place to be a psychology major. And so for those of you who are seniors who've been accepted, I encourage you, once you've made your decision, to go ahead and make that deposit. It's easy to do online. And we hope to see all of you here in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Oldenburg. So now at this time, we are going to open it up to the people that are joining us today. If you look below your screen, there is a Q&A. You can click on that and type in your questions, and we'll be sure to answer those for you. But we have a question coming in now about the research experiences that are available to St. Vincent College and what do students do projects on. So if maybe we'll start off with Dr. Rivardo, if you would like to answer that question, what kind of research experiences are available and what do students do projects on? And then if anybody else would like to chime in, maybe Dr. Favo, you can also put in your perspective about that as well.
Sure. So students have a couple of different means to get some research experience. So everyone participates in my research methods class. So in that class, students do group projects. So it might be a group of 3 or a group of 4, and students in one semester plan a project, collect data, write up a report of that data, and do a presentation. So everyone does that. There are other opportunities, working with me or working with Dr. Fava on our own research projects. I also have a research seminar that I do about every other year, sometimes a little bit more often, where we get students formally involved for credit to work on a project that I've started. And then of course we have our capstone. And so our capstone research project is an individual research project. So Dr. Fava and I advise that. And so we might have 3 to 5 students each who are doing their own projects. And they really get to choose whatever topics that they want to do. We'll certainly provide guidance in terms of making sure it's going to be something that is feasible, but students are not limited to do work that is in our particular areas of expertise. So we encourage students to pursue whatever projects are most interesting to them. And we, like Dr. Oldenburg said, we have those students present at a professional conference. Some projects that have come from my research methods class or my collaborative research seminar in recent years have been published. We had 3 publications this past year. So that's certainly not something we can promise, but something we strive for if students are interested in pursuing something that ambitious.
Great, thank you. Dr. Fava, do you have anything to add to that with your students that are working with you on research or anything you would like to include?
So my background is in behavioral neuroscience. So I work closely with the Department of Biology, and we actually have a small animal lab. We're most interested in looking at animal learning and memory and enhancing or disrupting animal memory, sometimes with behavioral interventions, sometimes with pharmacology. So our research is open to students in both the psychology and the biology departments. We try to be as interdisciplinary as possible, and we maintain a good relationship with the Department of Biology. And every year we have a few students who work in various aspects all throughout the lab, from designing research to actually conducting research to writing up and presenting research.
Interesting, thank you. I know Dr. Oldenburg, you touched a little bit on your presentation about students combining another major at their course of study. We have a question coming in from a student of how hard is it to combine that other courses with your psychology degree?
I can attest to this a little bit. I am a double major with politics, and I came in as a politics major and then added psychology, and it's been really easy to integrate the 2 majors, and they have pretty much no related credits whatsoever. And all the professors have been really helpful and helped me work out the timeline. And it hasn't been difficult at all to work together, even adding the major as late as second semester my sophomore year. I'm going to graduate in 4 years on time with both majors.
Great, thank you. That's our student, Mary Pop, who is studying psychology at St. Vincent. We'll ask you another question that's coming in. What do you like about being a psychology major, Mary, at St. Vincent?
I really like how the community of the psychology majors, the whole psychology department is in one office and all their offices are up there, and there's a work study room and area, and all the psychology majors, you'll see them in and out of there, and we have a seminar room, and it's just a really great community of people, and the professors are all really helpful, and just because it's a small school, you can get to know your professors a lot more, and I can remember conversations I've had with every single professor in their class and are really understanding of your life and what's going on, and they're psychology professors and they really care about your mental health and practice what they preach and what they teach. So I always felt really well taken care of, but also it was really helpful coming in late to the major. Seniors, juniors, even grades below me, but who'd been psychology majors since they were freshmen, all helped me figure out what I need to. All the students were really great and welcoming, and it's a pretty broad major, like student-wise at St. Vincent, but it's a really good community and everyone's willing to help you. And it's also nice at a small school, you get really hands-on research experience and kind of experience that you can drive, and you do pick what you want to study, as Dr. Rivardo pointed out. And so all the opportunities are there for you. It's really flexible to pick all those concentrations, to add a major, to do whatever you want, and everyone's really helpful.
Thank you, Mary. Well, we'll throw that over to Nicole as well, since she is a recent grad of St. Vincent. How did the psychology major help you? What did you like about it, and how it helped you get to where you are today?
Well, I could pretty much just second every single thing that Mary just said. Pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. But from a different perspective, looking back on it now, I couldn't imagine, I'm not just saying this for the purposes of this, but like truly, I say it all the time, like I could not imagine a better upbringing into psychology. Right now I'm pursuing my PhD in behavioral neuroscience, and I felt incredibly prepared going into my program. I compete well. I feel like I understand all that I need to understand, especially the research experience that she talked about. I was able to come up with my own ideas with Dr. Rivardo working on my thesis, and they're very flexible with you, whatever your interests are. I had 3 different opportunities to pursue different research ideas in 3 different classes. And I feel like that really, really solidified my interest in research and solidified that I can be a good researcher. I had people behind me the whole time encouraging me, and I was given all the skills necessary. And I feel like I wouldn't have had such a kind of good experience at maybe a larger school, or at school that just doesn't care as much. Like St. Vincent is my favorite place on earth, just because the people care about you so much. And I felt like I was cared about, and my career was cared about, and where I was going was cared about every step of the way.
Well, thank you. That's awesome to hear that you were very prepared to be where you're at today, getting your doctorate degree. Very impressive. We have another question coming in. Do students get any practical experience in their field? And we'll give that to Dr. Slink. If maybe you could talk about some of the internships, their conference presentations that St. Vincent College offers to our psychology majors.
Okay, hi. Sure, we get students do all sorts of different internships that provide wonderful practical experience. We have a lot of students who are interested in the addictions field, and so we have a couple of addiction rehabilitation centers in the area. They may do internships there. We have a number of group homes where students also do internships. They sometimes sit in on counseling sessions, clinical sessions. A couple of nonprofit organizations that are popular among our students, in which they serve as advocates for children. And a lot of students end up getting jobs. These internships can lead to sometimes a summer job or a job right out of undergrad out of St. Vincent. And then some of these places will even pay for students' graduate work as well. So there's just so many opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Slang. And on the lines of that, if you can answer the next question, how many internships should a student do while working on their bachelor's degree in psychology? Is there a recommendation?
Well, we always encourage students to do as many as possible. I think 3 would be great, but they're required to do one. The minimum is one credit internship, and that's 60 hours working in the field. And there's a little bit of academic work that goes along with that. Single internship could be up to 3 credits, which would be 180 hours of working in the field. But we really do encourage, yes, students to do 2 or 3.
Okay. And on the lines of that, again, another question they're asking is that internship typically, do they do that over the summer, or do they do that during the fall or spring semester?
Yeah, good question. Most students do their internship in the summer, although they will put it on their registration for fall. So St. Vincent College has a flat fee for registration, so they can add in extra credits and not be paying for the internship in the summer, but be working and getting the credit then.
Okay, thank you. The next question we have is, how long would you have to go to college if you would like to open your own counseling practice? Maybe Dr. Oldenburg, you would like to answer that. I know a lot of students want to further their degree in psychology and then open up their own practice to assist with mental health or whatever it may be, family health therapy. So how long would a student have to do that in order to open their own practice?
Sure, and this will depend on the specific graduate degree that they wind up getting. So you graduate from St. Vincent, and then for students, for instance, that'll go on and get a master's in counseling degree or a master's in social work degree. Those will typically be around 2-year programs. Once you graduate from that, there'll be a certain amount of hours that you need to get in of experience, supervised experience, before you sit for your licensing test in counseling or your licensing test in social work. And then at that point, you would be independently licensed and be able to do that if that's the direction that you want to go. If you get your degree in psychology and clinical psychology, for instance, which is a doctoral level degree, then at that point, typically talking about 5 years, and then getting your hours after you receive your doctorate, getting licensed, and then being able to practice independently. So private practice is certainly one of the options down the road that our students pursue. That said, all those professions can work in other sort of settings too, community mental health centers, psychiatric hospitals, and so forth.
Okay, and maybe you can take this next question as well. What is the percentage of students that move on to grad school from St. Vincent? And are there any colleges that stick out that they decide to attend?
I would say that our typical, in our typical class, a little bit more than half will go into graduate school right away. A little bit less than half will go into the workforce. In terms of the types of places they go, it's fairly wide ranging. I think for the students that go to doctoral programs, some examples would be Purdue University, North Carolina State University. We sent a student a number of years ago to a neuroscience program at Duke, West Virginia, Bowling Green, University of Wisconsin. Those are some examples. For the master's programs, the master's programs, the students that go there tend to be a little bit more localized, with some of the schools a little bit more around here. But then again, there's some exceptions to that. We've sent students to Columbia in New York for master's programs, Fordham. So there's some variety there as well.
That's great. Those are some wonderful schools. We have another question coming in. I think it's going to be geared more towards our students, Mary and Nicole. How many times do you meet with your advisors through the psychology department? How helpful are they to you? If maybe you could explain that to our students. We'll start with Mary, and then we'll go over to Nicole.
So mandatory, you'll meet with them every time before you schedule for classes, but it depends on the student. I feel like I have a lot of advisors. Dr. Oldenburg's my main advisor, and I meet with him on the mandatory schedule. I also see him all the time in the office. I work in there. But as you get closer to graduation, you start meeting a lot more, and your thesis advisor becomes another kind of advisor, and pretty much all the professors are there to help you if you talk to them. So in the beginning, you probably, unless you have more reason or take more of the initiative too, you'll probably meet them at least once a semester, sit with them. But as you get closer to graduation, it's much more likely that you have a lot more reasons to meet with them with your exit interview and things. And then also they're there as much as you want to see them. I see them pretty much every day. I work in the office, like I said, but also I would definitely go and talk to them at least probably a few times a month, but it's kind of up to the student, but mandatory, you'll meet with them at least once a semester.
Okay, and Nicole, how about your point of view on this, since you are a recent grad?
Yeah, like Mary said, it's once a semester mandatory before you schedule, just to kind of make sure you're on the right track. So if you're more proactive, you can go and meet more often if you want. They're definitely always available. Dr. Slank was my advisor, so I would meet with her every semester. Dr. Rivardo was my thesis advisor, basically lived out of his office. I was always there. But I was constantly in everyone's office asking, for advice and help. So they're definitely available. I can definitely attest to that. So it really is up to the student. I've never been turned away, never been denied an appointment with any of them. So yeah, again, once a month we say mandatory, just because it's kind of your advisor seeks you out to schedule an appointment with you. But everything else will be kind of up to the student to decide how often they want to meet with them.
Okay, well, maybe we'll also ask that to one of our faculty members. Maybe Dr. Fava, if you want to answer this one, how important do you think it is for students to have a relationship with their advisor to help them be successful in their field?
I would say it's, excuse me, I would say it's important for students to meet with their advisors, and the relationship between a student and a faculty member is really largely dependent on the initiative that the student takes, how proactive the student is. Students who we are even more familiar with, in small classes we get to know everyone, but students who we're more familiar with, we can do things like write better letters of recommendation for, to help them move on to their desired career or their desired graduate program. We get to know them a little bit better. We can speak to their strengths. We can talk about all of their extracurricular activities on campus. We get a good sense of who our students are, and that gives us the ability to really sell our students to these advanced graduate programs and get them into the jobs that they want to get to.
Okay, we have a question coming in from a student who's undecided and is maybe possibly thinking about a psych major, but isn't 100% sure. So maybe Dr. Rivardo, if you want to take this one, if someone is undeclared but thinking about studying psychology, how does the student go about doing that to see if that's the field that they really want to pursue?
I would encourage the students certainly to take our Introduction to Psychological Science course. That's the prerequisite for every other course in the department. And then there are other courses that opens the student up to. So I think by taking the introductory course and then maybe some maybe abnormal psychology or social psychology, really once you take the abnormal class, there's a whole lot of different choices you can make. And if a student decides to try out programs in our department, you can start out kind of following the track of the major, and if they're still interested but don't want to make that their major, then you can still get a minor out of it pretty easily.
Okay, and our next question we have is how to balance extracurriculars and your major of psychology. So maybe Mary, if you want to take this question, anything that you're involved with, how do you balance the day-to-day and the weekend of still having fun, but knowing when to study, at St. Vincent?
Yes, so I am an RA, which is, we call them prefects at St. Vincent. So that's definitely a lot of my time outside of class. I also played volleyball for 2 years at St. Vincent, my freshman and sophomore year. And I think that balancing extracurriculars is completely and totally doable, and you have the time in your schedule. One thing you'll notice when you get to college is even if you're playing a sport, and I was double majoring at the end of my sophomore year, you have a lot more time than you do in high school, honestly, but it's how you use it. So it's just, there's going to be a lot of things that are vying for your attention. There's a ton of programs that APB puts on freshman year to really involve the freshmen. And it's definitely up to you to set up a good schedule. It's really helpful. We have a lot of tutors, a lot of coaches will implement study hours and study halls for athletes. I know theater is a really popular extracurricular, and that takes up a lot of nights, but it's pretty much setting apart that time during the day, just the way college classes work, that you're not, you know, in a full day of school from 8 to 2, you'll have breaks at different times. It's just kind of you figuring out your schedule and how you can do that. But with psychology, it's definitely really doable to do extracurriculars. I kind of made the decision with volleyball at the end of my sophomore year that I wanted to pursue the double major and have more time. I now work in the psychology department as well as being a prefect. So it's up to you, and you have to divide your time, but I think it's definitely doable. It is hard, and to get used to being on top of yourself and keeping that schedule when you're away from home and have so much more free time on your hands, but then lots of things to waste time or use your time well with all of that.
Okay, great. Nicole, do you have anything to add to that when you were at St. Vincent College?
I definitely had less on my plate than Mary does. Being an RA and an athlete, that's a lot. But you, like she said, you definitely, you make your own schedule, and it's different from high school. So high school, you're there, whatever it was, 8 to 4. But in college, you make your own schedule. You set up when you're going to be the most productive. I'll put my classes this time, whether that's morning or afternoon for some people. You get to decide that. There are a lot of opportunities for clubs and extracurriculars on campus, and almost probably every single person I know from St. Vincent was involved in something other than their major. So it is definitely doable, and definitely something I would encourage for an incoming student to get involved in that kind of stuff.
All right, thank you. I think that wraps it up for all the questions. So I thank all of our panelists today that were able to join us. If we have any seniors that are listening, we ask you, if you're ready to become an official Bearcat, you can pay your deposit. Simply go to www.stvncent.edu/deposit, and you can pay your reservation deposit to join the class of 2024. And again, we thank you for joining us today. We know this is a stressful time for all of us, but at St. Vincent College, we are here for you. We will get through this together, and we want you to stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you.